I found the United Nations' new approach to a solution to be extremely creative. Of course, there is no written formula as such, but a framework verified by several different sources is now clear. We could also call them ideas. The new approach is a phased solution formula. It is different from the past. It is spread out over time. It is a model in which, at every stage, communities will experience the benefits of the solution, see the difference, and come to terms with the new Cyprus. In a sense, I believe it also responds to Mr. Erhurman's methodology, because it has a time limit. It is not open-ended. In fact, there is no going back to the status quo. There are risks, of course. Of course, this formula also has its risks. The most important of which is that, once a certain point is reached, people might say, "This is good enough. There's no need for more." In other words, a permanent division. Once the seaports open to Europe and direct flights commence, Turkish Cypriots might say, "That's enough." Or the Greek Cypriots might say the same once they begin settling in Marash. Once some land restitutions take place. Because if a strategic agreement is signed, these steps will have been taken prior to the referendum. Two parallel processes. In any case, it's better than the current status quo. For example, all citizens of the TRNC will become European Union citizens. Companies from all over the world will be able to come to the north and invest. A new future will be built together. It won't actually be a full reunification, nor a complete separation. We need to encourage the leaders. We must adopt a constructive approach. We must act with the will to find a solution. Let's summarize this in simple terms that everyone can understand. But first, let's also mention the magic key. This is a term I coined. Two parallel processes will actually be underway. One is Cyprus. The other is Turkey-European Union relations. The fundamental objective is to include Turkey in the Eastern Mediterranean's energy and security architecture. To meet Turkey's expectations regarding the European Union under three main headings, while also reaching a phased solution in Cyprus. What were those three headings? Visa liberalization, allowing Turkish citizens to travel to the Schengen area without a visa. Updating the customs union. Expanding trade to include services, agriculture, and public procurement. Participation in the SAFE program. Taking part in defense industry projects by joining Europe's Common Defense and Security Funding Mechanism. What is anticipated? Initial estimates. A draft strategic political agreement will be presented to the parties in the second half of August or the first week of September. Here you are, have a look. A draft, to be discussed until the end of the year. If a consensus is reached, then this strategic agreement will be signed. A joint transition council will be formed under the chairmanship of the Cypriot leaders. Like a provisional administration, this council will plan reciprocal steps over a 2 or 4 year period. In a sense, the Joint Transition Council will oversee a phased or gradual solution. During this period, Turkey will also make progress within the European Union separately from Cyprus. For example, citizens of the Republic of Turkey will gain the right to free movement in Europe, and there will be flights from Larnaca to Istanbul. That is the forecast, or the vision, in a manner to observe the outcomes. So, what about Cyprus? It is precisely during this process that phased solutions will come into effect in Cyprus too, and there will be no turning back. In other words, when citizens go to vote in the referendum in 2 years' time, they will see, experience, and feel the changes in their lives. For example, whilst Varosha is returned to its legal owners, direct flights to Erkan will commence. Alongside international funding, a compensation fund for properties will be established. Whilst some land restitutions take place, all TRNC citizens will, for instance, become European Union citizens. Joint administrations will be established, step by step, within federal institutions. Political equality and active participation in decision-making processes will be observed. Following such a controlled progression, the new Cyprus will be put to a referendum. But there will be no turning back from the steps taken. It is worth a try. Yes, it is worth a try because we are already losing ground on an everyday basis. The current status quo offers neither a future nor any hope to anyone beyond short-term gains. As I said, I found it creative, following the major rift of recent years. Moreover, steps that will improve everyone's lives are possible. We need to look at the process not in terms of what have we gained or what have we lost, but in terms of what we will share and how we will build a future together. Of course, political will, courage, and determination are essential, and sincerity